Are you buying your first home in Ottawa? Well, before you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, make sure you don't buy any of these properties. These are homes that look fine on the surface, but can cost you thousands of dollars after the fact and destroy your resale value altogether. Let's make sure you don't become one of those regret buyers. If you find this helpful, please hit the like button. This will help push this video to all buyers in Ottawa to help them be prepared for their new home. And if you want weekly real estate breakdowns, tips and tricks, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. So number one is poorly done flips. This is one of Ottawa's biggest problems. Oftentimes, flippers can be good and bad, right? They're changing homes, they're buying homes that have no value in them currently, and then they are flipping them by doing repairs and fixing them up to make some profit out of it, right? This can be a lucrative business for some sellers, right, that are doing the flips, but oftentimes the problem with these is that you don't know if you're getting an experienced renovator and flipper, or are you getting somebody that's just starting out that is going to be cutting corners and doing all these different things, right? So the big things that you want to ask when you're looking at a property that's just been, like, let's say it was bought last year and they're already selling it this year, and your agent shows you, okay, they bought it last year, it looked terrible, it looked like crap. Now they've done everything, they've changed the floors, they've painted it, they've changed the furnace, all these items, like all these different things, and they're asking for a higher value because they flipped it, right? So the first thing you want to ask your agent to check is, were permits pulled, are the contractor's license, are receipts available, right? So any experienced flipper will have these on hand. So, hey, we use so-and-so as our general contractor for the property. These are the permits we got from the city, and these are the receipts that we purchased the items for, and this is why we're asking for our value. An inexperienced flipper will often have no receipts, either because they don't want to share what they paid for it, or because they just didn't keep them and were a little bit negligent on that. Permits, they might not have even asked for permits, which is a big no-no. And who's their contractor? We don't know. Might have just been them, right? So flips in older areas like Vanier, Centertown, Hindenburg, Westboro, infills and stuff like that, you will see that often. Be careful, but also don't be too hesitant, because there are some really good flippers that do really good work and use really good contractors, and they do a great job and get nice homes out there. It's just take the extra steps and ask the questions before you jump on a property just because it looks nice. Because sometimes it could be lipstick, but sometimes it could be a proper renovation where it was done and taken care of and properly done by somebody that knows the area, lives in the area, has done multiple of these properties. And you can ask the other agents, is this their first time flipping a property, or have they done more? And if so, which property addresses have you guys sold of theirs, so we can take a look and compare. And that's how you avoid that one. Number two, this one I see all the time, homes backing onto major streets. So I've sold a ton of these homes, and typically homes backing onto major streets or fronting on major streets typically do result in longer sales cycles, and they also take longer to they get a lot of traffic through because it's in a sought after area, because it's on a main road. But a lot of people don't like it because, one, the noise is a huge thing. Like if you're backing onto a street that, yes, you have a huge barrier wall behind you that's blocking a lot of the view from the main road, but it's not blocking the noise, right? If the speed limit behind your house is 80 kilometers an hour, you're going to be hearing noise. And typically you might actually hear some trucks during the day and stuff like that. So you want to avoid those. So like homes in Barrhaven, like that are right off of Woodruff, you're going to hear that, in Finley Creek on Bank Street, even in Canada, there's quite a bit of roads that have that. Like Rouncy Road is on a main road. It's not a per se main road, but it's a through road where, the speed limit is 40 to 60 kilometers depending on which part of it you're on. And if you have kids, you're not going to want your kids playing on that main road because it is quite busy. So noise, traffic, and safety concerns are a huge thing with that, and that's one of those reasons why I like to avoid those. Personally, if I was buying a home for myself, I would not want to be on a main road at all. I know lots of young families that do not want to be on a main road, and it typically does result in a lower value. And for a home on a main road, you should not be paying the same price as a home in a private area. Like if you're in a cul-de-sac or in a road that's in a neighborhood where it's like, call it 100 or 200 meters away from the main road, you should not be paying the same price for that private home compared to the main road home. So number three is homes on unstable slopes. So this is a little bit more for like rural properties because we don't have that many hilltops or slopes or hillside homes in Ottawa, but it does arise in like Carp, Manotick, West Carleton, and Dunrobin. Dunrobin is a little bit notorious for that, so you want to make sure just see what like the biggest thing you can do is you can look up the zoning. Is what kind of, where are they? Are they near water? Are they in a floodplain? Like all these different things where lots known with erosion. Like these are things that you want to avoid. So if you're on a slope, any of that water that's coming down, and if your home's at the bottom of the slope, right, it's going to be going straight to the home, and it's going to be deteriorating the foundation of the home, deteriorating the exterior, and just putting more stress on the home. So you want to avoid that. I personally don't recommend anything like that. If you want to be at the top of the hill and everything's sloping away from you, that's a huge difference, and that home will be lasting much longer than a home that is at the bottom of the hill and getting a lot of hillside water and penetration and all that stuff. Number 4, structural issues. So this is a non-negotiable. If you buy a home and everything's fine, when you're walking through it, there's no issues, but you do a home inspection and the home inspector tells you this home has a structural issue. Okay, so foundation cracks that run in multiple different directions, that is a huge no-no. You want to avoid that home altogether. Staggering ceilings or floors, like if you see anything like where one building is like that, one part of the building is like this, the other one's like this, that is a huge no-no. You want to be walking away from that home. Granted, there aren't too many homes like this in Ottawa. Most of the homes are in pretty decent shape, but there can be areas where that can have affected a property, and you want to walk away from that as soon as possible. Whether you spend money on inspection, it's better that you learn now than you learn in a year or two where you have major drawbacks and major issues. So many older homes in Sandy Hill, Glebe, Ottawa South, Alta Vista, Vanier have structural aging. Always get a strong inspector, and you want to make sure that you're not just getting some basic inspection. You want to have somebody like the inspector is typically where you want to spend the money. Yes, it might be a little bit costly up front, but if you love this home and you got just a basic inspection where they just looked at a few different things as opposed to going and checking every single part of the property, that can save you thousands of dollars. So you want to avoid that. It's a non-negotiable. Just wait for the next better house to come up that doesn't have those issues. Okay, number 5, old or problematic plumbing. So a lot of this is the PEX plumbing or galvanized plumbing, so rust, low pressure leaks. We actually don't have too much of that in Ottawa, but it has come up, and I have had clients walk away from homes with that kind of plumbing or have them ask for major price reduction because of that, right? Sometimes some sellers never even knew it because they didn't do an inspection when they bought it, and they never knew about it. They never had issues with it, but it can be one of those things where it's a surprise for both parties, and a buyer can be just completely turned off and be like, you know what, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to move forward. And a seller can be like, you know what, we didn't know about it, but here's a price reduction. If you guys want to change it later on, we know it's probably going to cost between 10 to 15 to 20,000, depending on the size of the home. Those problems can be fixed. It's not a huge red flag, but you want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. The other thing is some insurance company will not insure the home properly until it's been fixed. So sometimes you can get occupancy for the home. You'll be able to buy it, whatever, all that stuff will go fine with the bank. The insurance company will say, okay, well, within your first 2 weeks, you have to get this done. We want to see the receipts that it's been done properly by a licensed plumber. Make sure all the pipes are changed, and then your insurance will start working fully as you're moving into the house. So keep that in mind. That one's it's a red flag, but it's not the end of the world. It can be fixed. It can be adjusted. Just make sure you know what you're getting yourself into before you're moving forward on it. So number 6 is electrical red flag. So this one is very important. So old knob and tube wiring. It's common in older Ottawa homes. It's not super common. Like you won't see it at all in newer homes. Like any of the subdivisions like Barrhaven, Canada, Orleans, Findlay Creek, Riverside South, you will not see that for the most part. I don't like, unless you're in a super old home, you won't see it. Aluminum wiring is 1960s to 1970s builds. You want to make sure that when you're doing a home inspection, if it's an older home, and you want to avoid anything that has buzzing or outdated panels. Like if the panel is buzzing, that's never a good sign. So keep that in mind. Insurance companies in Ontario can also reject a lot of these homes that have older wiring. So keep that in mind. You have to be very careful. If it has older wiring, check with your insurance company first what their stance is on it before you start moving forward. Number 7, so major high ticket components near end of life. So this one, you don't have to wait for the home inspection. You can actually tell right off the bat, because when you're walking through the home, if you're in the basement, look at your agent should know that, you have a furnace. They always have a tag on them. When was it installed? So the tag will say, 2012, November 7th, 2012, or whatever, January 15th, 2021, whatever. Anything that's, near end of life, roofing, old HVAC, furnace, AC condenser, all these things, they can amount to thousands of dollars, right? So if you need a new roof, you need a new furnace, you need a new AC, you're almost at $30,000 to $40,000 of worth of repairs, depending on the size they are, right? Like a furnace can cost anywhere between $7,000 to $10,000, depending on the size of the home. An air conditioning between $3,000 to $6,000, depending on the size of the home. A roof anywhere can depend on the shingles, the size of the roof, if there's any leaks underneath it, if there's any if there's any mold underneath the roof in the attic, like all this stuff adds up, right? So anything that you're looking for, you want to make sure that's been accounted for in the price, or that the dates at the very least, right? So when let's say everything's 10 years old, you're okay with it. All right, let's go do the inspection. Let's make sure that everything is working properly and it's been maintained properly. The one big thing that I always like to check on furnaces is, one, the year when it was installed. The other thing is, how often has it been maintained? Typically, HVAC maintenance companies, they will put stickers on when it was maintained. So you want to make sure you're looking over those, and always ask the sellers, hey, do you guys have receipts? When were the windows changed? When was the roof changed? Right? Like again, if we're talking about townhomes that are 5 to 10 years old, it's pretty self-explanatory. But if we're talking about homes that are 15, 20, 30, 40 years old, 50 years old, you want to make sure you have as much data on the home as possible before you start moving forward with it, and getting yourself into like a money pit that could be lasting for the next 2-3 years, right? Like if 1 year your roof goes, you're spending 10 to 20 grand there, then the next year your furnace is gone, and another 7 to 8 grand, 9 grand, whatever, right? Then 2 years later the AC blows, then that's another 6,000, right? Like it can start adding up, and then like over 5 years you can end up spending 40,000-50,000, and you don't even know what you did to the home, right? You didn't do any changes for your enjoyment. You just replaced major high ticket items. So keep those in mind. These are the biggest things. Like, yes, finding the home you love, that's the step number one, but making sure the home is properly maintained and the major high ticket items have been dealt with, that's the huge part. So number 8, homes with serious water or mold issues. So typically when you go into a basement, you can smell mold, or you can smell condensation and stuff like that. That's not out of the ordinary, but depends on how strong the smell is. Right, so mold is extremely hard and expensive to remediate, especially if it's in the roof or in the attic. That can cost quite a bit, and fixing a roof is also quite expensive. Active water infiltration. So if the basement has had water infiltration, that's one thing you want to make sure. So check the baseboards, what's happening. How's the foundation? Does the foundation have any leaks? All that stuff. So Ottawa has clay soil in many areas, higher risk of, which means it's a higher risk of water issues in older homes. So anything that's over 20 years old, you want to be checking that stuff for sure. That is a huge thing. Small leaks under sinks are fine. Whole home moisture problems are a deal breaker. So like, we've had leaks. I've seen kids run a bath and things leak. I get that. That's not a big thing. But if there's moisture issues all over the home, that's a huge one. You want to avoid that and make sure you're not jumping into anything like that. Number 9, fully flat roofs. So this one is for the more modern homes. So fully flat roofs are great. They look super appealing. It's typically in more modern homes, but you want to make sure that you know what's happening with and who installed it, because those roofs can also be they're very costly to replace. Small flat sections are okay, but entire flat roofs typically have a shorter lifespan because everything gets compacted in them. And in Ottawa, we get lots of snow and lots of ice, so it's compacting. So one, it's either you're going up there to maintain it often, or 2, it's the lifespan of the roof is getting shorter and shorter. So that one, you don't have to avoid it depending on the style of home that it is. You just want to make sure you know where you're getting yourself into. And a flat roof for a first-time home buyer might be a little bit too much maintenance for somebody to uphold. So this one, the last one, number 10, is homes that require too much work, especially for first-time buyers. So if you're a first-time buyer, you're typically a young family or a young individual where money is a huge thing, and you don't want to be spending too much of it. It's already costing you enough to get into the housing market, and spending more and more money throughout the time period that you're living there is going to cost you even more, right? So structural fixes like plumbing overhaul, electrical updates, HVAC replacement, roof replacement, all these things can add up. Window replacement. So typically what I recommend for first-time home buyers is jump into something newer. So you have less and less issues. You might have some warranty and all that stuff. So typically that's what I recommend. But if you do want something that's, in an area where there isn't too many newer homes, go into the properties, make sure you like them, but at the same time, make sure you're getting the right inspection to know what's happening with the property and make sure that you know what you can do to remediate some steps. But if the tally sheet is coming up pretty high, right? Like let's say you need a new roof, you need HVAC soon, you need new AC, you need new windows soon. Like all these items are going to start adding up. Get a spreadsheet going. Make sure you have your approximate estimated cost of what it's going to cost you over the next few years, and make sure you're okay with that, because you don't want to be stuck paying, like I said on the last one, is 50, 60, 70,000 over the next 10 years of your lifespan in that home, or 5 years of your lifespan in that home, right? So that's don't skip inspections, especially in Ottawa, where older housing stock can hide expensive problems. Like the older homes can look really nice, they're charming, they're beautiful, but you want to make sure the inspection is done right, and you want to make sure you're not missing out anything. If you need an introduction to a really good home inspector, please message me or send me a message or call me. I will introduce you to the right home inspector. I don't get any kickbacks, something like that. I only deal with the right professionals, and I don't want anybody losing out on the home, or just jumping into problems for no reason. I try and deal with the best home inspectors in the city to be able to give my clients the best advice. Ultimately, I'm not a home inspector, and I don't do the home inspection. It's the home inspector that's certified to be doing them, and I only like using the ones that do a good job, that my clients rave about, as opposed to the ones that just go in and out and charge you $400 to $500 and off you go, right? So you want to be dealing with the right ones. So if you're buying a home in Ottawa and want to avoid money pits like the ones I've talked about in this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and follow for more. I'll be giving you tips and tricks on all types of homes in the coming weeks on future videos. If you need help buying a home in Ottawa, please feel free to click on the buyer consultation below. I'll get you set up to see the best homes in Ottawa, and at the same time too, we can talk about more about your goals, what kind of homes you're looking for, and help you on your journey. And I'd love to get introduced to you, and I can show you all of the lawyers I deal with, the mortgage brokers, home inspectors, and all that stuff that you need on your home hunting journey. So if you like this video, again, like, subscribe, and follow for more, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.